Amy, I called you back. Yeah, I called 2 or 3 times and it kept dumping me straight into voicemail. I like your hair straight. Looks good. I called you too. Yeah.
This time I would like to start the Hamilton County Council meeting, call it to order. Also, before we get into our regular meeting, I would like to make an introduction of the ordinance 03-07-18-B, and it's a project overview with Mike Howard. This is on our agenda first.
Okay.
And then we'll go to our regular meeting here.
Didn't know we were this special.
Yep, you're on top tonight.
At your last meeting, we talked about moving forward with the funding of the Government Center expansion project. The first step is a public hearing on this ordinance, which essentially is a public input on the project itself. This ordinance will be up again at your next meeting. There will be a public hearing at your next meeting. So do a little presentation here and going to do a little bit of what you've already seen because it is for the public and it's been noticed to make sure they know what the project is. Essentially, the project is the expansion to the west, which is to the left on this photograph of the Government Center, moving out toward the west, toward the river. This is the footprint, and essentially everything on this side of that change in color will be the new project. It will be part of the long-term design for this building. We intentionally bought that ground knowing that we were the fastest growing county in the state in 1989, and that hasn't slowed down a bit. And we expected that this building would last us 20 years. Well, we're up at 26 years now, so it has served us well. This is a photograph from the west showing what the expansion will look like after it goes out past the river. The project will have approximately 132,000 square feet. The architectural exterior will match this building as far as stone, brick, etc. We started this project back on November 3rd when we talked about the budget for the project. The notion then was that the project cost would be $25,477,057. There had been appropriations of $1,570,000. So essentially the budget that we will have that will go forward for construction and whatever fees, professional fees and management fees exist during construction of $23,907.57. The source of funds, essentially, this was in your motion, the $12 million revenue or bond, which is the subject of the ordinance that we're talking about this evening. That $12 million could be paid for by all or part of each debt service could be paid for by a levy. Your financial advisor, Mr. Reuter, has said it is his primary intent to use CCD or other available funds to make that. However, because there could be a levy, then we have to go through the process as is and make disclosures to the public of the worst case scenario, which would be the debt service being repaid solely from property tax levy. Of course, that would be up to your discretion of how you decided to pay for the project. We also have placed in front of you, and not for necessarily discussion tonight, it will be before you pass the ordinance. The statute requires that we do a financial report that tells you what the impact could be. You have the maximum term of bonds, maximum principal amount, estimated interest rate that's 1.85 to 4. That's because the shorter bonds, the bonds that mature earlier, have a lower interest rate. So you're probably looking at an average 3.5, somewhere in that neighborhood, Brian. Your estimated total interest cost, your estimated increase to the debt levy, and that's the number if you decide to pay it all from a levy in your prior year budget cycle of the 843.91. There is other information in the back. The second page shows what your total debt service would be if this don't issue the bonds, what the total would be if we issued the bonds and the full payment. As I said, the net scheduled indebtedness basically shows the indebtedness and the debt of all the underlying taxing districts. It is required that we have this report before you at both meetings, and the copies of the report are available to the public should they wish to speak on it, take it home with them, and come back to next month's meeting and speak on it. That's kind of the summary. There has been a question on the ordinance on the first page where it says we'll finance the project and the project will be in an estimated amount not to exceed $26 million. The amount of the project is this. However, prior to 2017, there were some design fees and professional fees that were incurred. Those have been appropriated, have been spent. We're not trying to jump out of the box of this budget. We're only by law required to say what the total costs were. And I went through some of those space studies, et cetera, et cetera. It's not $400,000, but there is money there, so we took the safe number of $26 million so that the State Board of Accounts will be happy with this when they're done. With that, I have Mr. Brian Colton from H.J. Umbaugh, who prepared the financial report. Umbaugh is acting as financial advisor in this. Skip Keltner is here from Meyer Najum. I would suggest that you may want to have questions for them, but you may also want to open the public hearing if there are any matters brought up by the public that we cannot answer. I brought the people that definitely have the answers. With that, I'll stop and answer any questions you might have before you open the public hearing.
We're just voting. We're voting on the total amount, even though we appropriated, right?
We're not voting on anything tonight. We can't vote on the ordinance tonight.
I know what you're saying, but what you were saying is that that number does include stuff that was already appropriated. That's why it's different.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's why that 26. It was appropriated prior to 2017, so it was appropriated, spent.
Okay.
This gets us to the status quo as of the November 30th meeting.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Howard?
I have a few.
Okay, go ahead, Rick.
Mike, on page 1, it specifically says includes underground parking. Is there any relevance to why that is stated?
We were trying to kind of describe the different things there is. It's not a parking garage. It's the one story this parking that we have now for prisoners in and out, and maybe it's larger. I don't know. Is it larger? Are we expanding the parking, Skip? You have to get the microphone here.
When you go down the ramp to get to the Sally Port, there is room down there to have like 25 to 30 parking spaces.
Okay, so it's about twice as what we have now, maybe. I just didn't know if there was anything in particular, because it's
No,
jumped out.
it's not a public parking garage or anything. It's basically secure parking that we have now, expanded for future uses. I think right now there's probably 13 or 14 down there.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
and the one that's there now is going to be demolished, so this is
Skip, for the record, excuse me just a minute. If you would, state your full name and
Sure.
who you're with, please, so we can have that on the record.
Skip Keltner with Meyer Najum Construction.
Okay, thank you.
And Mike, there's several projects or several enhancements and options that were listed in the book. And a couple of them we've said we did not want to do, and I'm just concerned about the extra $500,000 that could give likelihood of being spent on some of those projects.
Are you talking about the Fireman's Memorial? I know that's one.
That's one, yes. There's others. So
Skip, could you come up? If you can ask him whether or not they're in the bid documents, either in the base bid or the alternate, but I think those messages have gotten out. Go ahead.
well,
Yeah, the firefighters memorial is in the bid documents, but it's as an alternate. Several items that are in the documents as alternates, and the plaza is one, the firefighters memorial is another.
Would the generator be also in that?
Yes, we have multiple alternates for the generator.
So they're in the bid documents, but they're not in the dollar number we'll be voting on next month?
They'll be, the reason so many things are listed as alternates is some mean old lawyer has told them that there's no way they're going to get any more money than this. So they're putting a smaller package out to bid. If the prices come in high, none of the alternates will be funded. If the price bids come in low and there's enough money, then there are some alternates that can be put in. Basically, the development team and the commissioners heard loud and strong at your November 30th meeting. That's it. So if prices are high, there isn't any more.
but if the prices aren't high, there's extra money, then they can spend it on whatever they want.
Well, I think that's something that you and the commissioners should talk about. We may want to take that, and what they may do is there would be value of leaving the memorial in there. If there was private funding, go ahead and award it and pay for it with private funding, because you got to mobilize a contractor.
I have the same concern that you do, Rick, but you've been here as long as me. I doubt that we're going to have huge amounts of leftover money by the time this thing gets to the end.
And tonight, we're not voting on the money, just, it's the public hearing that's going to be open here in a couple minutes, so.
Yes, there's a public hearing on the ordinance.
So we've
The
got a
public
month
hearing
that we
on the
can think about it.
appropriation is next month, and if there needs to be some messages about where the alternates will be between now and next month, we're on a tight schedule, so we may want to get those ironed out ahead of time. So if you have a list, I will deliver those to the Monday afternoon meeting, and I will deliver them to the design crew.
Right, thank you. Thanks.
Anyone else? Questions from Mr. Howard?
I do have one more, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Mike, you had this March 2nd memo from UMBAW, that's related to this project, correct?
Yes, that's the financial report that I spoke of that has to be available for the public, and it's in front of you.
This says prepared March 2nd, but I don't see the most recent 8.9 million redevelopment commission bonds for Lowe's Way on here. Is it significant? Should it be included or not?
Rick, the financial people don't call these issues by project. I wish they did. It'd make my life and my office's life a lot easier.
I'm looking at dollar amounts. I don't
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
a
it's,
dollar amount.
if you look at this page, so at page 3 in the handout, it's the second bond listed, redevelopment district, local income tax revenue bonds of 2018. That's that Lowe's.
That's
Ramps.
50,000 less than what we have in our book.
That was the original par amount. I think those bonds were a negotiated sale, and there was some extra,
Premium, yeah.
there was some extra premium.
Okay,
But
so I
the
mean, we got
face
them
amount of
less,
the bonds, that's the principal payment we'll make.
but it's 50,000 less on this document than what's on this book. That's what I'm just saying. There's a $50,000 difference.
Is that the final
Is
official
that
statement?
the OS or preliminary?
The big,
It's final official statement as of
Okay.
February 2nd.
I'll double check. So this number might have changed. We might have gone the other direction with the premium.
okay,
So we'll
We'll check that out.
all right, thank you. Now I'm done.
We'll
we'll
find
flush
out
that
whether it's
out.
there or not, but it hasn't disappeared since then, I
Okay.
can guarantee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other further questions for Mr. Howard? If not, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 03-07-18B. And this is an ordinance of Hamilton County, Indiana, authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds of said county for the purpose of providing funds to be used for construction of a building, addition to the existing county government and judicial center, including underground parking together with all the necessary related improvements and equipment and the cost of issuance of bonds therefore. And at this time, I would entertain public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come up and speak on this issue? Okay, seeing none, I would move to close the public hearing at this time.
Second. All right.
And at this time, I'm going to start our regular session of the Hamilton County Council meeting.
See you at your next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Mr. Howard. This time, I would like to call to order and have a roll call. Madam Auditor, please.
Yes, Brad Beaver,
Here.
Paul Ayers.
Here.
Fred Glenn.
Here.
Steve Swartz,
Present.
Rick McKinney,
Present.
Amy Masalamani,
Present.
Jeff Hearn.
Here.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. And at this time, if you will all rise for our invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, and this will be by Councilman Paul Ayers.
You bow your head, we'll take a few moments to pray. Heavenly Father, first and foremost, we'd like to thank you for all the benefits and gifts that you bestow on us as a nation, as a state, and as our county here. We ask you to give us the wisdom to make good and just decisions this evening. We ask you to continue to bless all of our employees, those gathered here and those that are home and those that are traveling tonight. Keep them in good health. We especially ask you to bless and protect all of our first responders here in the county and our military that protect us overseas. And we ask that your will be done here as in heaven. If you'd like to take a few moments to add any petition or maybe a concern that you have in your own heart to yourself at this time. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to approving the minutes of our regular session on February 7th. I would entertain a motion.
Seconded.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. This time, is there anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment? Seeing none, we're going to move on in our agenda to committee and officer reports. President, I have none. Vice President?
I have nothing.
Highway?
We met, and I think those items will be on the agenda tonight.
Okay. And Finance Committee?
No meeting this month.
Okay. Personnel?
We did meet. There was not a quorum. Notes were sent to you on the council on March 5th, and we will discuss those in the meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Miscellaneous. Anyone have anything under miscellaneous?
Are you going to?
I would just say, under miscellaneous, I would say this. Being on the redevelopment commission, I'm the secretary of the redevelopment commission. I have signed all the papers for the 146 flyover. It's on tabled business, and I would just say that we'll wait till Howard tells us, county attorney, that he wants some movement. But I have signed all the paperwork for the bonds for the 146th Street flyover. It was approved by redevelopment. So we did all the paperwork. I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be done by the county council on this particular item. So we'll just leave. If it pleases everybody, we'll leave it and ask Mr. Howard next month. Okay. All that paperwork's been done. I've signed the final papers.
Okay. Anything else under miscellaneous?
Got a couple things.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I had the opportunity to spend half hour or so with our coroner, and I know, Steve, you've ridden with him. That's not the extent I want to go to, but I would think it's worthwhile. As a year or so ago I did with the auditor, I think it's very educational, gives you an appreciation of part of the stress and also all the paperwork that's involved. So thank you, John. I appreciate you making time for that. You're welcome. Also, the food and beverage tax, I think I've sent emails out. There was a question, just when are we reaching our quota? And it appears it's in the January timeframe because we're on the state's fiscal plan. So first 6 months a year, half the money goes to the state, and then from that point on, we get the other half. The other item I want to mention, and hopefully this will be the last time we talk about it. Steve, February 7th, you said that the initial vote that we took on for president was secret ballot was illegal. And then on January 8th, Commissioner Altman also interceded and thought that it was illegal and cryptically implied there was some potential liability. I want to state that I do not believe it was illegal. May have been unorthodox, may have been incorrect, but not illegal. And that absolutely no liability was created, which again I think is a boogeyman thrown out there to cast doubt on what we do. There are conflicting statutes, and again, there was no harm done by the council. I believe it'd be in each government's body's best interests if they'd refrain from meddling in internal affairs and not themselves create true fiscal liability, such as the recent action the commissioners did to enact an ordinance on political signs. And I believe that's going to be incurring legal costs which are unnecessary.
Okay, just a little rebuttal on what you brought forth on the secret ballot. Like I said, and I did have a sheet that I handed out, that it is a state statute, and I felt we were in violation. So did our county attorney, and that's who we pay to represent us. So that's who I fall back on the illegal secret ballot.
Let's maybe agree to disagree. The county attorney is not our attorney, but also there's two statutes that are in conflict. 36-2-4-10 says that we can adopt our own rules how we want to do our internal meetings. The open door law simply says a secret ballot may not be taken. So there's a conflict, nothing, there's no secret vote at all on any taxes or any spending, absolutely never, suggested or anything. So again, I believe it was just internally, and other bodies should just basically mind their own business, so.
Yeah, I understand your viewpoint. I totally disagree. I
Okay.
still say it's illegal.
That's why we get along, because we can agree to disagree.
Okay. Moving forward, I would hope that we would not do any more secret ballots. And I do have one item myself under miscellaneous. Has to do with Save the Train. I have some really good news. Would like to be the first to present this. I'll hand these handouts out. It's the 2018 business plan for the new Nickel Plate Heritage Railroad. The first leg is intended to be in the first part, in Hamilton County. I pass these out if you guys have any basic questions. A lot of them can be answered in this brochure, but I'm very excited to see them come to town. It does say in this brochure that in 2019, it will be headed towards Noblesville. Looks like they have a very good, solid business plan. I look forward to having the train back in town, so.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is this the same group that Brenda was working with?
It is the same group Brenda's working with. Very excited. Brenda's been a big part of this, so very excited to have the train back, so should be really big news.
Great.
Very excited. Okay, moving on to item 7 on your agenda. It's unfinished business, and the tabled business.
I would move to untable it, based on recommendation from the highway that they will not need that, so we can untable it and then let it die.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
And then I'll make a motion, we don't need a second. Make a motion to approve it.
Lack a second, motion dies. Okay, moving on to number 9 on our agenda, new business, would be the approval of vendor claims.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Item B, the WIS market review. That is our personnel consulting firm that we use. And Amy?
I'll make a motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Paul Ayers seconded that motion.
Is this an annual thing now that we're doing?
So, in discussing with personnel at our meeting on the 27th, and in previous discussions around the budget timeframe, if you will, it was talked about that we're obviously seeing these huge spikes if we're waiting the 2-year timeframe, and that's why you saw a heavier increase in the increase that were given between the 2-year timeframe. So, with what we'd like to do is the opportunity to have this reviewed every year so that we're not seeing 7 to 10% increases every 2 years, and instead it becomes a steady figure going forward. And so this is just allowing us the opportunity to have them do that review on an annual basis. We'd like to set that precedent so we don't see such a high increase every 2 years.
So this is necessary to do this annually, you feel?
I do believe, yes.
What had we been doing it?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years?
For having almost 1,000 employees, myself, I highly recommend it. I sit on the personnel committee with Amy, along with Jeff Hearn. I think it's a very solid idea that we do this.
How much is it going to cost us?
In order to do the study,
Increase to do it every year instead of every 2 years?
it's what they're anticipating at this time to do it for our 2018, or looking forward to 19, it was roughly $6,800 for us to do it. Now, with that being said, I do think that there's a possible variance within that number. I think, again, we can have further discussion over what information they're actually providing, because we don't need the full chart, if you recall from. So I think you'll see that number could decrease, but I can't be for
Yeah,
sure.
I think, Amy, I mean, you did such a great job on this. I value your opinion on it. You think we need it every year, then I'm okay with it.
I'm not that crazy about every year, but I'd like to either think about pairing something else with it. A brief conversation Jeff and I had about adding new jobs, and I dug through my archives, and only a few of us here for the Hamilton County Operations Review, Part 1, 2006, that Wagner Irwin did, and what it included was reviewing our departments and the number of employees we have and comparing them to other counties. Remember this?
I do. I
And
don't have it memorized, though.
I don't either. But I think it was helpful in the sense of it showed maybe where either we're top-heavy or maybe where there are true needs, and could help, indicate that, it's a, what do you call it, a separate guidepost and not just relying on an individual department head. So I don't know whether or not,
I would think
pair
that they
this
could
with them.
probably find data that maybe would overlap. Sheena, I don't know if that's a conversation that you could attest to or have with WIS.
I mean, this came from them, that's what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying, but that obviously being 12 years ago. I
Right.
mean, just to.
Oh, yeah, to update it or
Sure.
make it fresh. I guess I'm concerned that the amount of money we have, which again is close to 70% of our budget for personnel, that we get bang for our buck, or the taxpayer.
I would support that. My obviously
Well,
focus on this was.
we in the Human Resource Department keep a hierarchy of each department, and the Auditor's Office, of course, has an accounting of the new positions and the changes in salaries and things, so we try to stay on top of that. We do talk about those things at Personnel Committee, and anything that you would like to have included in the salary study, I can forward to WIS.
Okay. Do you want me to give this to you? It may not be in your archives, but
I'm sure I have it.
I'll give you mine. You can have this.
Okay,
Paper, right, Sheena? You need more paper.
I need more paper.
So in essence, we're looking for the opportunity to go ahead and allow them to do the analysis so that we are prepared much prior to budget hearings.
And I have the money in my budget already to pay for it, so we're not asking for additional funds. I have $20,000 in my contractual line item for anything that we ask of WIS, but this will eat all of it up. So if we have any other projects during the year, we would need to look at utilizing other monies from the commissioner's budget or asking for additional appropriation. But just to update you, Wagner Irwin has never raised their rates since 1996 as far as what we pay them for our monthly maintenance. And they only raised the senior consultant fee $10 an hour, and that is Addie, who is very much in the depth of all this, and she's really good at it, so her hours spent on it are not as much as someone who wasn't knowledgeable. She's had our account the whole time she's been there.
Is there a motion?
I just want
Got a
one
motion and
one
second?
question. You said 20,000, that'll eat it up. So that's typically annually what it would come out to?
She's just saying she has the $6,800 within her budget, within that 20,000. she's
Okay,
got.
I got you. Okay. Thank you.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Shannon. Okay, page 2 of your agenda. Have 4 interlocal agreements.
I'll make a
Each
motion
of
to
the-
approve combining them for discussion.
That would be C, D, E, and F on your agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
So I have a few things to say. I have a concern, and I've had conversations with a few of the chiefs. In section 11, where it talks about the funding mechanism of the 60-40 split, I think, number one, I'm not a fan of asking the northern areas to have to pay into this. I do believe that a better solution, I think this is a Band-Aid re-signing these, because these did terminate as of December 31st of this past year. I think we should have had them long before now. But I think a better tool would be to look at population rather than per run rates. We have some within the public safety realm that are not logging runs because they are concerned about it coming back against their operation fees. And so I think we've got some issues we need to look at before I feel comfortable in signing off on these interlocals.
Why don't, I understand what you're saying, Amy. I'm thinking on this, they are late getting here, they've already expired, but the county is in such a situation where we cannot refuse to dispatch, but without an interlocal, entities can refuse to pay. I would say that my opinion, the thing for us to do is to approve all these interlocals and then send it back to the chiefs. They have a police and a fire.
There's a little bit, so there's the 911 committee, which does then consist of the mayors. I believe Dan Stevens sits on that in lieu of the commissioners, the sheriff, I believe Mike Snowden. From there, they are the governing body, if you will. They do have a public safety committee. However, we do not have any representation on that committee, which I do believe is a concern. I think that needs to be looked at as well. I just think in general, there's too many pieces to this, and I did talk with Attorney Jeter regarding my concerns. And yes, there is a risk, obviously, that maybe some entities would not pay. But I think right now, we either need to rip the Band-Aid off and address it head on, or we're gonna end up in a bigger problem down the road.
So let me understand, if we accept these tonight, we're set in being able to legally collect money. If we don't, then we're at the mercy of trying to get all these different organizations to work together to agree on something, which could, I think, maybe take a year or so, and we still couldn't.
Yeah, there's only 4 right now.
And 2 have paid.
2 have already paid the quarterly
Well,
dues that
the
we're
thing
doing.
about it is, and I'm not.
But I'm talking about the northern
Yes.
entities.
Well, no, right now, there is no interlocal
There's,
with the north.
correct, there's an opportunity for an amendment, as it states in all of these.
And what you're saying is you're asking that we should hold off on these before we get an amendment from the northern groups.
I'm saying that there are a very large group of our public safety officials that do not agree with the way this is written, whether that is whomever's fault that may be. This is what's come to us, and I don't agree based on that discussion and the concerns I have from a public safety perspective, where we have police officers not logging runs with dispatch because of fear of having it go against their budget or their operations, right? So getting charged ultimately. And so then that becomes a public safety issue.
But wouldn't it be better to have, and I don't disagree with what your concerns are, but wouldn't it be better to have an agreement in place that we're using? Then when you have a better one, bring it to us and we'll
As long as you can get those signed, as long as you can get those agreed to. The problem is also, I do believe that these agreements should have come to the county council before they actually went to be signed by the city council and the commissioner. So there's a whole procedural issue.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. Now, wasn't it,
Yes, and it became, as I think council is aware, I did send the fire chief's notes to you because this had been brought to my attention. Prior to that, I was not aware that we were in such a, I don't want to say disarray, that probably wouldn't be the right word. But I don't know if anybody else saw these interlocals prior to them being sent.
Right, and so if it was the county commissioner sending them out, then we could get a big hub. But since it was Mr. Snowden, I'm not sure he was aware of what our procedures are now, so I give him the benefit of the doubt. But I'm saying we should have a funding formula in place, and if they come up with a better one, then when they have the better one, then we'll just amend this and go with the better one. But to abandon this and go with something that we don't have, there is no other plan.
To remind you though, we haven't had anything all year.
Okay, and Fred?
My thing is, I'm just kind of, I want to kind of just
Well, since January 1st.
understand
Okay,
what you're
so
saying
for
here.
2 months.
So you're basically saying that you may not agree with everything that's in here, but any agreement's fine, and you're basically saying vote this in and then hope that they'll bring something better back to you.
I'm saying we've been operating this way since we had combination 911 dispatch, since we brought it into one, which was a big job over the years to get everybody consolidated into one. And this was the funding formula that was come up at the time that we consolidated 911 dispatching. It may not be perfect. It probably has a lot of flaws. I have not did the in-depth analysis that Amy has. What I'm saying, it is the funding formula. We should adopt it. It's what we've been using in the past.
This is a different funding formula. It's a completely different funding formula.
You got no other plan, right?
No, at this point I
Okay.
don't, but it's in what good faith that we hope that somebody's gonna change their mind after we put our
I'd
signatures
just like to
on
say,
it?
I agree with Brad. I think we accept this the way it is, and I'm happy to have somebody set up a task force to figure out what a planning is, have somebody from council be on there.
For 5 years. For 5 years, these will be in effect.
Anytime there's a new plan, we could.
We can
That's fine,
readopt
as
it.
long as you can get everybody else to sign them.
Well, here's
Well,
my
the same
thing.
problem
If,
you
One person.
here's my thing. If you're saying that some of these public safety directors,
Correct.
chiefs are upset, well, they're appointed by the mayors.
That's true.
The mayors signed these.
The mayors
So-
haven't signed these. It's the city
I just
council.
noticed Scott Fadden signed it for Fishers.
City council.
I didn't look at everybody, but if you look at Fishers, the mayor signed it. My thing is if they signed it,
City council. I'm sorry, I just don't, there's no mayors.
yeah, under Fishers, it shows Scott Fadden signed it. Keep going,
I'm here,
keep going.
city council.
All right, well, anyway, I'll look for it. Go ahead, Brad.
No, I'm happy to do with that, but to have a formula that many of them don't agree with or think that should be changed, to go with no agreement and hope that somebody gets it together in the near future. What if they don't? I'm thinking we should accept the interlocals the way they are, somebody work on them, and if you come up with something better, that's fine. I don't want to put us in a position where somebody could quit paying, but we're legally obligated to continue to dispatch without being paid, and then that puts us, the onus on us.
Yep.
We're a physical body. It's not our job to work these deals out. That's why we have the different levels of 911 administration and chiefs, and they have public safety and all. Okay, if there's a better plan, put together a better plan. This is the plan we got now.
Yeah, and I just think, I showed her this, Scott Fadden signed this over
Okay,
here.
so he's the only one that mayors, my apologies.
So, my issue is if it's fire chief and police chief, we don't have anything to do with fire chiefs or police chief. So why don't they work through their mayor who appoints them, or finds somebody else or new, let them, the cities figure out what they want to do, and we're the fiscal body. I agree, we should just go ahead and approve it. If someone brings us a better plan, then let's do it. But I don't want to wait 6, 8, 9 months, a year, and still no one's brought us anything.
Rick, go ahead.
Thanks. Number one, for me, my huge objection is the violation of our resolution, which we put in place so we weren't surprised and taken advantage of. That's what I see. And this went out a year and a half ago, was distributed to all the departments, other officials, so they knew of it. The other question I share with Amy, because I've talked to a couple people in the public safety realm, and the concern is, I don't believe that the northern areas need to be charged, because I think that's what the county portion that we're paying, because there's 5, the 4 cities and us, already pays for them. And we also know that that area is not as economically strong as the southern part, and so they shouldn't be, again, I want to say double taxed. We've already had Westfield and Carmel pay. I don't think there's any way that they would try to escape paying, because we have all that other leverage on the streets, like with 37, with Fishers, Noblesville, we're doing bridge projects left and right for them. So I think we have that leverage, and my final say would be, I would say table them, and whether or not we have the joint meeting with the commissioners in April, or they get the message, but I think if we just take them, I think it's a bad deal.
So I'll make a motion to table.
Can I speak? Thank you. I'd like to get my 2 cents worth. I would definitely agree with Mr. Beaver. I think he's made some very valid points. These interlocals, in my opinion, are written very well. I see no reason not to accept them, and I think if we do not accept them, I think it's bad government, because we're slowing down the system, and it makes us very liable. And I see no reason why the northern part of the county, those other entities, Sheridan, Jackson Township, et cetera, those entities, has any bearings on these particular interlocal agreements that we have in front of us.
How's
If
Sheridan?
those,
How's Sheridan? I'm
excuse
sorry.
me just a minute, Paul, let me finish.
I just want to know how Sheridan's involved. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just,
Okay. If you would,
Go
just
ahead.
let me finish what I'm talking about here.
Yep.
So I have no bearings. I do not see the difference why the interlocals that they might or might not be creating in the northern part have any bearings on these four. They may not pay anything. So here in front of us today, we have these four interlocals. I would strongly encourage the council to move forward with them.
Can I come back? Page 4, the newness of this, page 4 inserts a definition of small towns. This was never in the previous one, and talks about Arcadia, Sheridan, and Cicero specifically. And the idea is that there will be some type of charging to them. And what this does on the surface is changes the formula, 60-40 versus 92-8% on the type of calls. Again, I don't think there's any liability because 911 will continue to answer the phone, will continue to dispatch people. They're not going to refuse, to send police or fire. Again, this is fiscally, I think, our responsibility, and that's where I'm at.
I make a motion to table.
I'll second.
Motion in front of us to table in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm
opposed.
You want to have a hand?
Better have a hand here so we can tell who opposed.
Which one?
Aye.
Ayes.
For table.
Yeah.
Motion carries 4-3. Adam Otto, please make that note for the record. Okay, moving on. We have another interlocal agreement in front of us, and it is item G on your agenda. This is a little bit different. This is an interlocal agreement between Hamilton County, Indiana, and the city of Carmel, and this has to do with an agreement with a cell tower that we lease from Carmel. Amy?
I'd move to approve.
Okay. Any
Second.
comment? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to item H. This is an ordinance 0307-18A, and it's an ordinance approving cash change funds for the clerk of Hamilton County, Indiana.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item I is an ordinance 02-26-18A, and this ordinance is amending the personnel policy and employee handbook for employees of Hamilton County, Indiana.
So moved.
Sheena's here if anybody has any questions.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
I appreciate Sheena reaching out to me. I'm sure she did everybody else as well. Great explanation. Thank you. And I have no problems with
Yes,
it.
Sheena, thank you for the call and the explanation on it. I appreciate it too.
Very well noted. Thank you, Sheena. I'm going to go ahead and call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We have item J in front of us. It's the solar project update. Steve Wood.
Veterans Court reduction.
Thank you for coming in, Steve.
Steve on this.
It says Veterans Court reduction.
In front of you, you'll have some paperwork there with a complete schedule and with a status report, which I'm hoping this is acceptable to you. And it'll step through the project summary, the safety side of it, the work that's going to complete it, the milestones achieved, the work schedule, the next milestones, the actions to be taken. We are on schedule. The LED light portion is going. Panels are all on site. Racking is being assembled. We've cleared out, and we will have the ceremony on the 12th to start the panel installation. There, I did bring a panel over for you to all see.
Is that a cell phone charger?
Yeah, could be, actually. So if you have any questions for me, I'm here to answer them for you. I have had several phone calls from several of the council members. I appreciate that.
Steve, I only have one question. I'm happy with, I seen they're on site and we're gonna have the groundbreaking and whatnot. Will we have to rebore under Highway 37, or is there a conduit there now?
So there's the old cattle crossing, which I know you're aware of. But we are in the process of going to bore underneath it again. The state's already got it in front of them, and it looks like they're going to approve it. So it'll be a shorter run, which gives us a better value.
All right.
Any other questions for Mr. Wood?
Steve, I really appreciate your persistence in this matter. You turned a lot of us around and pointed out how successful this would be, and I appreciate it.
And I appreciate it. Just to let you know, and this is no exaggeration, I bet you I've had over 2,000 phone calls or messages or people stop me to talk about the solar projects. Brad and I did have that discussion right before the meeting about how solar is actually going around the state.
It's definitely the new way. Thank you very much,
Thank you very
Steve.
much, and anytime if you need anything, please don't hesitate to call.
Done a great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks.
Moving on to item K on your agenda. It's an ordinance 03-07-18C, and it's approving the cash change fund for the Hamilton County Highway Department.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Item L on your agenda, that's a request for a new position at Community Corrections.
I'll make a motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
I think Ralph has probably talked with all, if not most of us.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity to take the Director of Quality and Compliance position to personnel in order to have the discussion and for a classification study with WIS, and then to bring it back to council for approval of the position. So this is just the opportunity to approve going to personnel for the discussion.
Ralph's here. Anybody have any questions for Ralph?
No, I had a talk with him and he gave me a good explanation. I think it's called for.
Right, and likewise, and I appreciate that, Ralph. I think the thing that would lend me to vote for it is going to be the idea that it will help maintain the funding that he has as there's more competition with other counties, as also the opportunity, no guarantee, to get additional community correction funding. So.
And I did too. I spent 2 afternoons with him in the last few months and seen everything he and his people are doing and totally understand why it would be needed.
Ralph runs a very tight ship there. Thank you, Ralph. Any other questions? Saying none. Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph.
Have a great evening.
Got a motion and a second.
Got it.
We're taking it to personnel. Is that what we're voting on?
Yes.
Yep.
There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. This time I will open the public hearing concerning additional appropriations. Item A, it's requesting $536,628. Amount for additional appropriations, $20,747,261. And the first item is the jail cell pod expansion with an additional $450,000.
So moved.
Second.
Just a quick explanation would be great.
This is part of our funding mechanism or plan.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, it's the assessor.
I would make a motion to approve, what is that? I and II?
Second.
I would actually prefer that we don't do those together.
Okay.
Let's just do aye. It's the 144 amendment.
So this did come to personnel.
So do we have a motion?
Oh, I guess,
Yeah, we have a motion, but unless Brad withdrew it.
can you change the motion not to include
I will
both?
amend my motion and just do I.
Second.
Thank you.
The
And-
assessor did come to personnel, and I believe she's here if we have questions. So there's two elements. One was to adopt the revised amendments to the job description, which you'll see down there in the second one. The other was to hire above minimum for a vacancy. And when the request was actually made, it didn't follow the funding, the formula that we typically use for the person that's shifting into a new classification. And so I'd have to verify what number we're actually approving or requesting to approve the original request, correct? Since it didn't get a favorable recommendation from personnel, I'm just trying to make sure that I.
Right, there's two, 144 there, one with the request of the assessor, which is the higher amount, and the second is based on the formula.
So my recommendation to council would be to utilize the formula amount. And then if Robin would like to come back at budget time and request an increase as such, she's welcome to do so. But just to stay consistent with what we've done for other departments. So you see two.
I'd like
Amy,
either
we're
Robin or
approved-
Sheena to come up and review this formula, because I don't remember us adopting a formula. I remember some formula being talked about.
So when there's a move from classifications.
Right.
So they basically take the old and new and come up with the in-between. So, I mean, Sheena can explain it better than I, where we've always used it.
But is it supervisory capacity or just a change in job?
The
Can I ask
formula
a question
basically
before we
looks
get
at.
into the nuts and bolts.
Excuse me just a
Are we
minute. Go
going to
ahead,
approve
Paul.
two things? If we vote for this, are we going to be voting for two 144s?
It's one of
Which
One
one?
or the other.
Okay, it's one or the other.
Correct.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Sheena.
In looking at the formula, we generally take the minimum of the pay classification the individual who is a current employee is in, and the minimum of the pay classification they would be moving to, and we subtract the two, and then we divide that in half, and we apply that amount to their current salary, and then try to link them as close as we can within the levels of the banding. The premise of banding also includes the knowledge, skills, and abilities of an individual. And so Robin initially came to personnel and asked that this individual be paid at a higher rate in this transfer because she felt that their knowledge, skills, and abilities was exceeded the amount that the formula had calculated. In Personnel Committee, after much discussion, asked if she would consider using the formula, which is what we've been trying to have consistency, and then at her budget hearings, possibly come back and place this individual in a higher level for the next budget cycle. But I will let Robin speak on her own behalf.
So, the reason I want to put her in the higher level is she comes to us, she's already working in my office. She's transitioning into this position, has been working in it for 2 months. She's got 18 years of experience with title research, sales disclosures. She's still doing the duties of her old job that she was moving out of. We don't have to train anybody, which is huge. Take the risk of that person not catching on and then starting all over again. I just felt like she was worth more than, I call this entry level, but I don't know if that's what that is or not. But I just felt like moving her up to relate to her experience and her skill set and the extra duties that she's taking on. That's why I'm requesting it.
Level 4, and the request that Ms. Ward made basically moved her to a senior professional level within the banding.
Any comments from personnel people on this?
Like I said, I was the only one present from our body outside of the auditor from a council perspective. My belief is that we should utilize the formula and then allow any department head, if they see that an employee should be moved up for knowledge, skills, and ability, that should be addressed at budget hearings.
I talked to Brad and Rick about this. My concern is with personnel, we're not on the finance committee, and I worry at what point do we start spending more money and recommending and we're over budget. Rick talked earlier about 70% of our budget is personnel. I just want to make sure that we don't all of a sudden, we're out of money. We had $100,000 of cushion, and all of a sudden at the end of the year we're at $140,000 of things that we've approved. So my only concern was asking the finance committee if they were comfortable with this, that we're not going to be out of whack.
So hypothetically, you have a job opening, and if somebody that didn't work for you walked in off the street and had the skills that you're saying your employee has, you could hire them at that level just because they have the skills and the years of experience. If they just walked in, they never worked for before. But since the fact that she already works for the county and works in that office, and you want to move her to another one, then at that point we got to use a formula to determine what the wages would be. So it'd be different if they didn't work in her office than if they did.
We, as a personnel committee, look at the knowledge, skills, and abilities of applicants as well as internal employees, and try to make sure that we are staying within reason based on valid knowledge, skills, and abilities. So we do look at that, and we do encourage our elected officials and department heads to bring reasonable requests to us, and we have in-depth discussion to try and navigate through it. So you're absolutely right. Someone could, and they could ask as a part of the negotiation to hire somebody off the street that brings those talents to us. We, as a county, have allowed them to come in at a higher rate, as well as internal employees who have some, evaluations because they've already been with us.
Mr. President, you'll know, Jeff, for your information too, Dawn has put the net savings on each of these 144.
From the previous person.
And I guess my question earlier to Brad and Rick is not necessarily this one, but as it's gone down and what I viewed last year and my first year, just are we keeping running track? Is there some type of a dashboard so that we know where we are at the end of the year? Because from the time we are at budgets in September and we certainly have a lot of people, and for good reason, come up to us and ask us for more money.
Yeah, it's sometimes every.
And I just worry about what if we don't have a cushion, or do we run out? Especially with what's happening with the large stores and their audits and asking for tax rebate money coming down the line.
So we have moved and seconded for both of them? Is that what I understand, Robin? Or how
That was my question.
No, we've only asked for the first one to be voted on.
Formula.
Okay.
Second here. Okay, there's a motion in front of us and a second. Using the formula and being consistent, is there any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I'm opposed.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, there's an auditor additional for $34,000.
Yeah, we have the second part, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Number 2.
Thank you. Item II, that is to adopt the job description amendment, real estate sales disclosure manager.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this issue? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. The auditor additional for $34,146.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. The clerk, there's a 144 amendment.
So moved.
Second.
How does this relate to what we just did?
So this is for a request to hire above minimum, rather, for the vacant filings deputy position. It was discussed in personnel. Again, there was no recommendation given. I believe Tammy is here.
Tammy, would you like to come up, please?
Am I right? Is seeing savings of 47,000?
Correct.
So how
Is
can you deny
abolishing.
it?
Oh,
I chose to move someone up to a vacant position that someone had retired. I felt her knowledge would help her learn that job better. So my problem is her classification before was a Comet B, now it's a Comet C, but she's already making more than the entry level of Comet C. So I just wanted an adjustment. I used the formula I was given, and I'd just like to see her bumped up to the appropriate level.
You're doing away with a position, not vacating one, is that correct?
The person that I moved up, I'm going to vacate that position.
I understand, okay,
Yes.
thank you. So you're not going to be asking for that position to be filled
No, I
at a
am
later
not.
date?
I'm getting rid of one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
pardon me. Robin, you'll make sure that gets X'd out, right, please? Okay. Thank you, thank you.
Any further questions for Tammy while she's in front of us?
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Great evening.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Last item on this page is there's a commissioner's additional for $30,627.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
This funds that new auditor position we just did a minute ago.
Any further? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Carries. There is an ISS 144 amendment.
I'll make a motion to approve the discussion.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
This is in regards to requesting a recommendation, or did not have a recommendation, rather, from personnel. It's for two requests. One was to hire above minimum for a vacated GIS analyst position, and the other was to hire above minimum for the vacant senior systems administrator position. This is, again, the opportunity to advertise the higher amount, which Chris can attest to. There's no offers been given yet.
Yeah, no offers have been given, but I'd just simply like to have the approval in place because we see in the IT positions that if people are out interviewing with us, if we have to wait for that period of time to come back and we find somebody with years of experience and the knowledge we're looking for, and they need to be brought in higher up on the bands, they're most likely going to accept another position somewhere else.
I expect to. I don't know if anybody saw, but there's how many jobs were there that were just being brought into the county? 1,500, and the majority of them were in the IT world.
Well, it was split between two. Geico Insurance announced 1,500 jobs in Carmel in two categories. IT was one of those two categories, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you look at it. But I tell you, for example, we started interviewing, in my note, Joanne Keene, who is our current GIS director, was brought in as an analyst When we brought her in, she had 17 years of experience from Marion County. She's been promoted now to the director position, but, you know, to bring her in, you had provided that approval, that range, and it really took that to get her with those skills and abilities that she had. We have done some interviews for the GIS analyst position. One of our a strong candidate so far has 9 years of experience in county government in another state that's looking to move back to Indianapolis, but there's two places he's looking, Indianapolis and in Madison, Wisconsin, and so he's going to go to either of those two places. With 9 years of experience, we would not get him at the entry level if I had to do that. If I wait 2 months or a month and a half before I can come back again, it's simply probably going to be
But
gone.
you might be able to, I mean, because I see this and I appreciate what you're doing, but you might not get that person, but there's somebody else you might get that could potentially fill that position.
Potentially,
I mean, you're talking
yes.
about one specific individual.
Well, no, I'm
You
just
probably got
using
more
as
than
a-
one applicant.
Yeah, I'm
right?
using him as an example. Yes, because
Okay,
he's
I'm
been
just
our
asking.
strongest.
Okay.
He's been our strongest candidate so far, and I just look at his experience, his technical abilities are fit perfectly with what we do, and he has experience in the government sector, and so I know if I offer him entry level for the GIS analyst, he's going to turn us down.
Any further questions for Chris?
And I will say it in terms of the GIS analyst position, this is going to, we're saving money. You know, our previous director left. Joanne is not making what he was, so there's a savings there in cost. And we weren't going to bring anybody in above where Joanne was as a GIS analyst. So now I don't look to push to the edge. I look to just have the range so that we can fit the person in on the bands where they belong. You know, in the senior system an analyst or senior system administrator is one of the new positions that were approved. They are to support the public safety campus.
Anything else for Chris?
Call for the question.
Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion with our council? Seeing none, there's a motion on the table and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed?
Aye.
One opposed?
Yep.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, moving on to item 7. It's an EMA transfer for $5,000.
Still moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Just to request to pay vendor invoices out of the correct budget lines.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8, Soil and Water is requesting $21,855.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion.
Yeah, got one. I got one here.
We all have an extra one that was in
Yeah.
front of the soil and
There's-
water. It may have just been,
It says 1672.
Are they two separate ones? They're two separate ones.
One's just not on the agenda, I don't.
Yeah, one's not on the agenda. I have the 16 too.
Okay.
For 1670.
there's one document, it's line item ends in 1401 for soil and water. It says additional outside grant funding was extended for urban agriculture. Is that supposed to be somewhere else in the packet? That's,
They both say for urban agriculture, but there's two different items.
Yeah.
I can explain that
names.
if you wish. One of them is for the appropriations for personnel, and the other one is for the associated taxes, for that portion of that person's personnel taxes.
Okay, great. Thank
It
you.
was for Ginger's.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
So now,
Madam Auditor.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. So what's in front of us is the $21,855, is that correct?
Senor.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Thank you.
Thanks, Ginger.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it, Ginger.
Okay, item B, Hamilton County Public Building Corporation lease rental bonds of 2014. This is a reduction for $9,000.
So moved. Second.
That's moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, item C, drug-free community. There's a 144 amendment in front of us.
So move for discussion.
Second.
Thank you. I have a few words I'd like to say on this myself. As we move forward, I would like to see some type of agreement similar to what we do on the grant funding that would protect us and help limit the liability with this person. I understand that it's paid for through the probation department and their user fees. Just want to protect us a little bit. It's not paid through user fees. Tell me where the money comes from, Madonna.
This position, and I'm representing the board.
Okay.
This position is funded through offender fees statutorily.
Okay.
Of anybody that's charged with drugs or alcohol fees. So I just merely house them in probation and help out doing payroll and things.
So is there any chance that these fees would go away and the county would be liable for this person's payroll?
Say if the fees ever go away statutorily, then the person would go away.
That's the form I would like for them to sign as they're hired. Exactly.
I agree.
That's what I would like to use. Also, just a little bit of a note, moving forward, this drug and alcohol, we have a large problem with the opioids. I'm sure you're very well aware. I would sure hope that this person is directed and energized to help create something for Hamilton County that will start to protect some of these people.
Yes. That is one of the goals that we have for this new person.
Awesome, awesome. I hope when this person's hired, they could present us in the near future with some type of paper or what their master plan would be. That's my recommendation. Does anyone else from the council got anything?
I'd agree with that.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Madonna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries. Yes, correct. Okay, next item is D, Major Bridge Fund requesting $1.6 million, and the amount available for additional appropriation is $9,962,823.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Here's a recent letter that we just got from Highway, from the Noblesville mayor.
Okay.
We are additional 1.6. We've already done 1.5. So the total cost is approximately 3.1 million. We're going to pay for everything up front. They're going to reimburse us approximately 1.1 million, which the commissioners and the highway department feel is fair. So,
what are your thoughts?
I think it's fair too.
I totally agree with it. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Next on your agenda is the rainy day funds requesting $12,205,792. The amount available for the additional appropriation is $12,230,707. This is reference to the courthouse.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Took 10 seconds.
Well, that's a culmination of
Yes.
a couple of years.
It took 10 seconds and also about
Well,
how many
I will
hours
thank,
of grind.
I will thank the county council for all their efforts, like everybody has just said, for their hours spent on this project. Yes, we spent 10 seconds to vote on it, but it's taken a couple years, so thank you all. Moving on to the Sheriff's Pension Trust requesting $1,710, and there's amount available for additional appropriation of $1,710. Mr. Beaver, your name's on this one.
Yeah, this is basically a mistake, accounting error. This fixes it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed. Motion carries. Okay, the Guardian ad litem requesting $4,738. The amount available for the additional appropriation is $4,737.46.
So moved.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Highway Lit requesting $35,000. The amount available for additional appropriation is $1,562,439. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Supplemental adult probation services requesting $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madonna.
Thank you, Madonna. Again. There's a Veterans Court reduction of $24,460.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. I like those reductions. Next on your agenda is item K. It's 146th Street Ramps West. There's TIF requesting $536,316. The amount available for the additional appropriation is $1,103,810.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Rick, this is Lowe's Way, correct?
That's what it says, the
This is
flyover.
funding the principal and interest
It doesn't say that on there.
I don't see that
Yeah,
myself
it's
here.
not on there.
On the justification, it says
ADA
US
flyover,
Settlement
says
Ramp.
district.
This additional request will continue the right-of-way extension of engineering for Phase 3.
Is the fund name the right one, Robin? Or is it's not US 31 Ramps EDA?
Fred.
What?
Right.
I don't have that one.
I mean, that's coming from Clay Terrace, right? That's Clay Terrace, really.
Okay.
Fred, do you have your question answered?
Sure do, Rick.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Highway Inspection Fund requesting $17,000.
So moved.
Second.
And Mr. McKinney.
We missed one here, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
We
the
did,
seven.
$1,000,007.
Okay. We're gonna
Yeah,
go
that's,
back.
you know,
Thank you. 96th Street, US 421, TIF is requesting $1,750,000. The amount available for the additional appropriation is $7,323,833.
for the record, it says US 421 on 146th, so I'm going to defer to Mr. McKinney because it's a large sum of cash to give us a quick explanation.
Right. We are able to use TIF money from 96 and 421 because of its connection to 146th Street to help pay for that project. And it's commercial dollars, not residential
TIF.
dollars. TIF.
Okay, so when you talk about TIF, you mean future tax revenues, right?
No, there's money in the account. That's, you can't spend money you don't have.
Tax increment
I know what it
financing.
is. I know it is.
Yeah, it's money that's in there. We're not just.
Yeah, the amount that's in there is $7,323,833.
Quick question, Rick.
Yes, sir.
Phase 4, does it does Phase 4 take us to 421?
No, we go to the county line,
Okay.
which is,
And Phase 4 will take us there? There's no Phase 5 or anything?
Joel?
County line is just.
This is Shelburne to county line, right?
Joel Thurman with the Highway Department. Yeah, Phase 4 takes us just past Little Eagle Creek Avenue and not quite to 421.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was a Phase 5 eventually down the road or not.
That
So
would
this
be
will,
Boone County.
this would be, so this will finish out our work on 146th Street.
Phase 4 is the last phase
Yeah.
for 146th Street.
Okay.
This request is not for everything we need for Phase 4, but it's for
Understandable.
some
Yeah.
items. Keep us going.
The total amount is what, maybe 40 million? Do you think?
I don't think it's that much. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
It was 4 miles. It was closer to 30 million, I think, somewhere under 30.
Good enough. Okay, thanks.
And Joel, thanks for coming back from Purdue
Sure.
Road School for this. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Any further questions? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Need a motion and a second.
Sorry, I thought we had that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Do you have all your questions answered, Mr. Glenn?
Mr. McKinney, I thank you for your prompt responses tonight. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Motion carries. We're going to go on to the Highway Inspection Fund. They're requesting $17,000.
What's this about, Mr. Glenn? I'll so move.
Second.
Thank you.
I so earned that one, didn't I? Well, it says the justification is inspection fees for Heritage at Vermillion, Section 3 Enclave. Is that right?
This is paid for by developers.
Yeah.
This is reimbursable,
Yes.
I believe.
Guess for the real explanation, we'll go to Joe. Mr. Glenn was not able to.
I just told you what it was.
Yeah, this fund is all funded through developers that pay for the inspection, so it's sitting there, and we have to have it appropriated so we can use it.
That helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Welcome.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. We're going to move on to the Child Nutrition Program breakfast, and then they're requesting $15,000, and the amount available for the additional appropriation is $15,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this?
Paul, what are they getting for breakfast?
Oh, yes, I'm glad you asked. This is funded throughout the year by the Sheriff's Department, and then we get reimbursed a grant from the state.
I mean, are they getting Cheerios or?
It's healthy nutrition.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Anybody else?
You mean the feds, right?
I thought it was the state.
Federal funded.
State.
This says federal.
Huh?
Okay, it funnels down through the state, okay.
Hey, thank you.
Incomplete form.
Thank you so much, Sheriff, for bailing me out.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item O is similar. It's the Child Nutrition Program. It's the lunch, and they're requesting $20,000, and the amount available for that additional appropriation is $20,000.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Shall we ask what they get for lunch?
Oh, yeah, it's
Paul
it's
don't know,
healthy.
so might as well not ask.
Okay.
Moving along. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Item P, the emergency preparedness requesting $98. Amount available is only $97. Madam Auditor, how do we do that?
She rounded up
It's
just so it
rounded
looks,
up.
it's 97, 94. She just rounded up on the agenda.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. In front of us now is the archery range grant, and they're requesting $281,000. I'm sorry, $281,561.
So moved.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this?
Grant money, when's the
It's definitely grant money. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Last page of your agenda at the top, the reimbursement fund requesting $38,690.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? MRC 2015 is requesting $3,500, and the amount available for additional appropriation is $3,500.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Operation Pullover, they are requesting $135,000, and the amount available for the additional appropriation is $135,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Not even trying this year.
Was that unanimous? Madam Auditor, was that
You
unanimous?
say you didn't drive?
No, he's not
He's
gonna
not
try.
gonna
try. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha,
he brought this
gotcha.
up a year ago.
Gotcha.
Whatever, just whatever you've already got, that's okay with me.
All in favor is unanimous. Thank you. The DUI Task Force Grant, they are requesting $50,000. The amount available is $50,000.
So moved.
A lot of DUI stuff going down.
Second.
And a motion and a second.
Quick question.
Yes.
Sheriff, the DUI task force grant, and even the one we approved before that, how much flexibility do you have to allocate that money to what you would like, if it's overtime, deputies to be out on the road? Or does it have to be operation pullovers where you're actually, stationed in one location and you're pulling so many cars over and then you let them go and you station? Or is it able to be cars to be out roaming around? How much flexibility do you have?
All the flexibility to be able to do either or both of those types of enforcement efforts.
Okay, thanks. I didn't know if they mandated how you used them or not. Okay.
Is it you, or is it the prosecutor that does that? Okay.
Law enforcement agency.
I was just curious, because I know they'll use different agencies around the county, so Fishers may be having overtime in Westfield or Carmel, so, okay, thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? This is a little bit unusual. The next one in front of us, it's a fire prosecutor investigation fund, and they're requesting $474. There's $473.50 in that fund.
They're requesting $473.50.
So
So it
moved.
just cancels out the fund.
Second.
Discussion. Thank you, Amy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. JDAI, it's a transfer of $29,520.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. And the last item on your agenda is the interpreter fund, and they're requesting $3,500.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. At this time, I'm going to close the public hearing and move on to announcements. Sheriff.
First, I would just like to say thank you for your support on the addition for the jail that you approved tonight. cooperation and assistance with that and posted on its progress. Secondly, the law enforcement community, loss of Deputy Jacob Nichols, Sheriff's Office, tragically shot and killed in the line of duty last Friday. Services are this Friday. We have been assisting the Boone County Sheriff's Office in a number of ways, and certainly will continue to hold them up and do what we can for them. We appreciate your support and the support from the community. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Did I understand on the news that the suspect is being housed at our jail?
That's correct.
Oh.
Yeah, I
Is
was
that-
in.
Is that going to be for indefinite or?
A lengthy process. To have him housed in that facility.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Can you tell me what's going on with the home place as far as Sheriff's Department patrolling over there? Is there a certain date you guys have in mind where Carmel goes over there and takes over? Can you give us something on that?
It's our understanding that that will transition
Okay. I was in, actually, in Lebanon when that happened, that shooting, and I was very impressed with the law enforcement community. I mean, I'd never seen so many police officers. They were surrounded, plus the bank branch I was in had to go on lockdown. It was very interesting. Very, very proud of the law enforcement community, though, how they kind of took control in that area. I mean, because it was within really short distance this guy was. He was running around where we were located. So, anyways, I was very, very impressed with law enforcement. So.
Thank you for all you do, Sheriff. Great job. Thank you.
And for your team.
Yes, absolutely. Our council attorney, Mr. Jeters. Nothing. Madam Auditor.
I have nothing.
Okay. This time I will close the county council meeting. Thank you.